In the last episode, I precariously lowered a body onto a chassis before spinning around menacingly after creating a phenomenal piece of artwork. I tricked a bunch of strangers into commenting about a fictional teacher. I then destroyed several generations of arachnids before replacing them with electrical things, which just so happened to look quite good. I then spun around a painted and polished turd for dramatic effect, before lifting it as high as I could up in the air and choke-slamming it down on top of a chassis. This is what I thought of that. I then ended the episode by taking some obligatory fancy pants shots. And that's about it. Here's what's been going on in the background.
Interior crocodile alligator. I drive a Chevrolet movie theater.
Yes, that was terrible.
Oh hi, welcome back to another episode. As you can see, I'm out of my depth. But in this episode, instead of controlling this car with a $12 AliExpress video game controller, I'm going to start pulling off electronics and seeing what happens. Oh no, it's almost like I should have made this out of materials that are suitable for the application at hand.
What's this?
I don't know.
It's trash. It's trash.
Not really. I'm in a Touareg, not a submarine, in case you hadn't guessed. So let's get on with it. There's nothing in here. It's all in there. And since it's all in there, and I forgot my microphone once again, I will be filming all of this audio using a phone. You should be grateful that I'm not using computerized voiceovers again. Anyway, I've been putting all of this stuff off for quite a long time, and here's what I have to do. Basically, take out the dashboard, and it's going to be extremely horrible and difficult and probably really annoying. As well as unpick all of this wiring, that wiring, the center console wiring, the battery tray they put under the passenger seat for whatever reason, the battery tray they put in the back for some reason, amongst many, many other things. Now the first thing of note is this. I'll do overlays so I don't have to pause my audio. All the wiring on the Touareg is inside the body, and it only protrudes through the body once it's going to somewhere. So for example, there's a hole in the body to get the wiring through to the gearbox. And on this piece of redness, it's the opposite. All of the wiring runs along the chassis and it only protrudes through the body where it needs to. And I think the Europeans did it better in this case. So I'm going to do the same. But first, a panoramic spoiler shot of the next project. Now I can't really show you any of the wiring inside the Patrol because it's all over there in a pile looking pretty sorry for itself. Somewhere under all that mess. But basically it runs down here from the dash. There's a few wires that run along here, maybe like 10 or 20 in a bit of conduit. And then it basically goes somewhere in there and buggers off into the body somewhere. And then there's other bits that run along here on the chassis and everything goes to the fuel pump and whatever. As you can see, not the case here. Everything here is somewhere inside the cabin. So my job is to fit this much wiring into this much space, about 2 finger widths. I never said it would be easy. Anyway, my first troubles with removing the dash involve the steering wheel. Steering wheels turn. This one doesn't, because the steering lock is on. Luckily the wheels were straight when this happened, but I can't do anything about it. Firstly, because I can't put the key in the ignition because it won't give it back afterwards. And secondly, I can't even turn the key because there's no electrical power. So I have to somehow find a way to get into the back of this steering wheel to undo 2 bolts to get the airbag off so I can start getting the steering wheel off. But this is just part of the joys of spending excessive amounts of money and time putting stupid engines into cars that should never have engines of this size. Yes. Anyway, lots of wiring, montage, do that thing, something over there. Why, Volkswagen, would you use a 50mm bolt where there's a 10mm gap? Now, I'm probably the most glad that the shifter is out right now, because that bit of plastic is the most fragile thing I've ever seen in my life. Let's move it away from that. And the last thing I want is for that to be broken off and found somewhere, and then I won't be able to use my shifter. In other news, this is why everyone hates you, Volkswagen. Because you'd think this was an innocent little shifter cover. Oh no. We've got mad electronics under here. And contacts on there somewhere. So this means that any moisture or mud or dust or anything that you might find, let's say, on a four-wheel drive, is going to ruin it. Now finally, something good has happened. I've been randomly unplugging things and taking bits off, and miraculously, my steering wheel is no longer locked. So if you plan on stealing a Touareg and the steering lock is on, just take random pieces off the dashboard until it unlocks itself. Touareg airbag. I wonder what I should do with this. Probably not. Then, as if by magic, behind the original wheel is a Tesla steering wheel. I can see why this is a stupid idea. This is a considerable, but not impossible to deal with size difference. It's a little bit wider by, I don't know, 50mm. Got the height, pretty much exactly the same. So hopefully there's a little bit of material left over in the dash surround for the GQ that I can make something work with that. Otherwise it's goodbye battery gauge. So I think right about now, all the hard bits are done. And by hard bits, I mean all the weird little plastic tabs and stuff that's likely to get me in trouble. And from here, it doesn't look that different to the Patrol when I pulled the dash out of that. The only difference is this. Who in their right mind thought it would be a good idea to put that much wiring in one go? It's like a extra large burrito running through the interior of my car. And I'm hoping I don't need all of it, so if I can chop that down to about half, then it'll be perfect. But apart from that, I'm kind of thinking, can I transplant all of this nonsense into the GQ? Find out at some point in the future. And that concludes what is probably the most boring episode to date. As you can see, the inside is basically a disconnected pile of garbage. But it's disconnected nonetheless. So all I have to do is throw this inside this, which is why I'm going to do it in the background. But in the next episode, I'm going to start this, so you should do this. And I'll also be announcing who won that fantastic snake drawing. Yes,